I want to welcome all of you to the 2022 African American Heritage presentation coming from the Mooretown Library. The national theme this year is Black Health and Wellness. And I could not think of two better people to join me than the people who joined me on last year, Ms. Shannon Armstrong, Pastor Patrick Dennis. And according to what you said, you were very eager, anxious to have them to come back and share. So that I would have a position again this year, I invited them back. I did just what you said you wanted. I invited them back, and I am very grateful for that. This year's topic is very important to me. For years, I have looked at health issues in my own family, but also in my race, but especially in my family. And when the research tip came out that a person should research his family background in regards to health issues, and even more importantly, before a person got married and started having children, that they would know their own background and be able to share that with their significant other. That just blew my mind. And as recently as this week, I talked with a friend of ours, Pastor Dennis, who's preparing to marry within the next year or so. And I know his health challenges. So I asked him, had he shared that information with the wife-to-be? He said, no, I only know what I know about myself, but I don't know about my father's background. The father's deceased, the mother's deceased. I said, well, you can talk about what you know from your mother's background. He said, I'm not sure who's left now who could even tell me that. So it's a very important issue, and we're saying that to everyone out there today in our listening audience, that you know your health issues, that you know issues that are in your family background. And if you're preparing to do something major in life, that you share that information. I want to give a special thanks to the Mooretown Library for accepting me. This is year number 6 that I have done this, and I have no words to really thank you enough for this great opportunity. I want to start today's program by saying I got some news about 20 minutes ago, and I'm just heartbroken. But the United States has just lost Dr. Mary Louise Wilson. She was in her 90s, the only African-American ethnomusicologist in North Louisiana that I know, but she passed this morning. And I'm very saddened by that. We had a special bond and talk within the last year. A wonderful woman, never a stranger, never let her educational accomplishments keep her from being a person who was very humble, very caring, very intent on sharing with others. So please be in prayer with me for the family of Dr. Mary Louise Wilson. I want to start today's segment with just some information, and I won't even share the whole thing, that I've got on African American health and some issues that really need to concern us. Marcus, I'm going to share my screen if possible, sir. I'll share all of it, but I'm hoping you will get enough information to understand the topics and the importance of these topics. This is information from a project called Physicians for a National Health Program. So as the closer we move toward the end of this PowerPoint, they'll be focusing on single payer Medicare for all means, means what it means. And it's the topics, the statistics that I want you to grasp and share from this presentation from them. Black lives are 3.5 years shorter than white lives is where they start. And that in itself is just mind-boggling to me. And I'm hoping you will feel the same way. We have to, and again, as we were moving along today, I was thinking, why are we doing this? Why is this important? And I said it's important because, one, we know we can do better. We know we can do better in taking care of ourselves. Secondly, share with our how we are, where we are, what we need. And for too long among us, that information has not been shared as it should be. And we need to do better in that regard also in sharing our health in issues that are common among us. We need to pass that on. 3.5 years shorter, wow. Blacks born in 1980 can expect to live than whites. That's something. As 1980, wow. Until age 65, people of color are more likely to, again, significant issue. Look at those percentages there.
Brother Darryl, those percentages, yes, are mainly due to the stigma about that African Americans have about trusting and not being afforded affordable health care. And so a lot of these issues is because a lot of African Americans don't have access to health care in order for them to go and get the necessary treatments that they need. 75% of African Americans don't even have a primary care provider where they can actually go and, you know, get those checkups that we're supposed to be getting, especially, you know, for your heart, your liver, your kidneys, are just, you know, just those checks that you're supposed to be having that could tell you if there's some underlying factors going on, you know, with your health.
A primary healthcare person?
Some don't. Some people don't. When you say, you ask the average who is their primary care provider, most will say, I don't have one. Or they don't know what that is.
Even where we are right now.
Yes, even right now in 2022. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And Mr. Gates and Ms. Armstrong, I'll even venture to say that some of them may not have your primary care physicians and all of that and the insurance because they're afraid to go. They have a stigma against doctors, and they have a something in their mind. The last time my mama went to the hospital, she never made it out. Last time she went to the doctor, last time my daddy went to the doctor. So I ain't, you know, and sort of an ignorance is bliss type of scenario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but I think that only makes the situation worse. It really does. It makes the situation worse.
It's just like most people with Medicaid, or they can go, they have vision, they have dental, but the average African American that has Medicaid, they're not using those benefits. Mm-hmm. They're not going to the dentist. They're not going to their primary care checkups. They're not utilizing all of those free services that they have, so much to where the insurance companies now are calling upon a hospitalization, and caseworkers are having to follow up to try to tell them of all the other resources that they have available to them.
Right. Well, as they say, we've come so far, but we've still got so far left to go. Mm-hmm. Because we'll have the resources and then not use them.
And this is very, very sad. I'm just, I'm happy about the opportunity to have you all, my friends, to share with me today so that we can get this information out. Yes. And I'm hoping, well, I see that this Zoom item is going to be recorded. Today's presentation is going to be recorded, and we'll be able to share this and to tell others about it so they can come and get this information as well. So thank you again. Pastor Dennis, the information that you just gave, give us a little background on how you know that. Is it something you've seen in your church congregation, or you've heard about it on the job? How did you come into getting that information?
Great question, Brother Gates. I've been a pastor. I've been pastor at Bright Star Baptist Church since 1997. I pastored my first church, Mount Zion Baptist Church, for a year and a half prior to that. I've seen, if there was ever a time where I could say I've seen it all, I've just about seen it all. A lot of this has been from firsthand knowledge, where you have someone who goes to the hospital or goes to the doctor for, because something is wrong, and they've waited and waited and waited until they couldn't wait anymore. And then they go and they have to be admitted on the spot. And while they're laying there with, oxygen in their nose and IVs and tubes in the arms and machines hooked up to them. And when the family calls me in to come and minister to them and go and see about them, when I get there, saying, what's going on? It's terminal. The cancer is terminal. And there's nothing else that can be done. When if they had just taken those regular routine checks and doctor visits and appointments, followed up on the appointments, that person could have perhaps still been, had some quality of life to be able to share with their families. And so Yes, sir. I've seen it so many times. I've heard about it so many times. And we have to break the cycle, so to speak. As you say, we have to break the cycle. Go to the doctor. Black men, go to the doctor. Go get your regular checkups. I turned 50 on last year. No, I'm sorry, I turned 51 last year, trying to turn back the clock. I turned 51 in November of last year. When I turned 50, my doctor scheduled me for colonoscopy. And, you know, I went and I had my colonoscopy. While I was there, they began to share with me, well, you know, we've started now sharing the information that the colonoscopies have to probably need to be done around the age of 40 instead of waiting to 50. And that almost blew my mind, you know? So we have to get back to a point of early detection. If we can detect what's going on early enough, then those things will be able to be, there's a greater chance that whatever it is that we're dealing with will be able to be reversed or turned around, or be able to be dealt with in a better manner. One thing about me that you'll never have is you know what I'm saying? Well, he didn't go to the doctor. I'm going. Anytime I need to go, anytime I'm supposed to go, I am going to the doctor. While we're waiting on Mr. Gates and the rest of the crew to come back on, there's Mr. Pursley there, and Mr. Gates is there. We have several persons on the Zoom. Tyrone Cromwell, good to see you on. We have Shannon Campbell, who has a very interesting background. Good to see you. There's Rose Davis. Thank you for showing up and for spending a little time with us this morning. We have a Kashida. Please don't forgive me for the mispronunciation if in fact I did so. And of course, one of my dear friends and co-hosts, Miss Shannon Armstrong. Shannon Armstrong.
This has been a very, very interesting conversation, and you're so right. We do have to take our health into serious care as we age in general. And many times we have fear of going to a medical professional because we feel like no news is good news, but you really need to know what's going on. Your body's just like an automobile. It needs a little tuning up.
Right.
So
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And especially us as Black males, we are very adverse to going to the doctor. We go when it's too late many times, and we need to do that. We need to be proactive and preventative.
Very much so. Very much so. If I can, I would like to maybe go on and I guess take the lead at this point in sharing.
Yeah, he said he was having some technical problems.
Yeah, they're having some technical difficulties, and so
Mm-hmm.
continue the conversation. We can keep on. I'm going to be sharing with you all today about mental health matters and how we have to take on the understanding of mental health as a serious, very serious health matter. Many times when we talk about health and in the African American community, particularly as we deal with men and men's health about diabetes, of which I was diagnosed last year after having had COVID in 2020. I was hospitalized for a week during 2020, April 1st through the 5th of 2020. And later on that year and on into next year, I continued to deal with some chronic health issues surrounding that. And so I was diagnosed with diabetes early last year as a result of COVID. I was also high blood pressure. We always talk about that with Black men and with African-American men. Obesity, being a little overweight. Those are things that we deal with. And but I want to share about something that we rarely like to talk about, and that is mental health. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen here now. And I'm going to talk a little bit about mental health matters, the fact that mental health matters for African-American men. If you can see my screen, just give me either a thumbs up or put up, okay, great, thank you. This is, of course, a part of the Black Health and Wellness Symposium and African-American Heritage Presentation. The theme for the national theme for 2022. This year's theme for Black History Month is Black Health and Wellness. And it takes a look at how American healthcare, as we were speaking before, has often underserved the African-American community. As the COVID-19 pandemic has recently shown, there's a widespread disparity of access to quality healthcare. And it negatively impacts the outcomes for Blacks and for other minorities. Either we don't have it or we don't have enough of it. And for African Americans, the root of the problem goes back and it goes deep into many centuries during slavery, during Jim Crow, during the civil rights era. We were always the low man on the totem pole. With if we were sick, they just threw us out. We were allowed to die. And so now in 2022, we have to take a very careful look at what's going on with our healthcare. Here's some health statistics for African-American men. Black men in the United States, we suffer worse health than any other racial group in America. For example, as a group, Black men have the lowest life expectancy. Mr. Gates just showed us a statistic there that we're at least 3 years behind our white counterparts. But we have the lowest life expectancy and the highest death rate from specific causes compared to both men and women of other racial and ethnic groups. As we look at the statistics for Black male health, statistically speaking, Black men live 7 years less. So there's a variety of research that's done there. Some say 3 years, but it can be as much as 7 years or even more. We live 7 years less than men of other racial groups. We also have higher death rates than Black women for all leading causes of death. Black men have a higher incidence and a higher rate of death from oral cancer. Who knew? Oral cancer. And have a much higher risk of developing HIV and AIDS in our lifetime. Okay? Here's some more statistics. Look at this. I hope you're seeing it. 44% of Black men are considered overweight. 37.5% are obese, which leads to those underlying health issues, which can bring on the high blood pressure, which can bring on the diabetes, okay? We suffer more preventable oral diseases that are treatable. Black men have a higher incidence of diabetes and prostate cancer. Listen, here's what I want to get to now. Black men have a high suicide rate. A high suicide rate. The third leading cause of death in 15 to 24-year-olds is suicide. I want to ask this question. Why do Black men have so many mental health issues? Since we're talking about health and wellness, we have to look at mental health as a very important caveat in the mental health conversation, in the health and wellness conversation. Many Black men have not been told or taught how to process and talk about their mental and emotional experiences. All right.
Pastor, I was just going to say that. I was just going to say, at the hospital that I work at, I got to spend 2 weeks on the men's unit. And during our group sessions, that was the main thing that they were saying. They were told to hold their emotions in, not to talk about them. And it was amazing, some of the things that I was able to find out about them holding in, processing their emotions, just speaking about issues that they were not able to do, and it was causing them anguish, stress, you know, a lot of the things that is right here on your PowerPoint, you know, being told that we're not supposed to shut down, we're not supposed to cry. And that leads to them holding stuff in, and then the volcano erupts.
Right.
And then now you got a serious problem that everybody is saying, I don't understand why you're acting out or you're being affected that way.
And being in education, I see it so often right here, even on my campus. I see it, and I've seen it for years. He just showing out. No, that kid is having problems that he needs to be able to talk about. He needs someone to be able to listen to him. You know, the number of students, the number of young Black males that I see that are dealing with some things, and they just completely shut down. As my screen said, they just shut down. They shut down. Why? Because they're afraid that if they talk about it, somebody's going to laugh at them. If they talk about what they're dealing with or what they're going through, somebody's going to, you know, talk about them. There's no safe place. And so we have to, in the Black community, we have to provide for them a safe place. How many of you know people and know men, Black men particularly, that as a young man, as a boy, he would talk, boy, stop all that crying. Men don't cry. You understand what I'm saying? Listen, let me tell you something. I cry sometime now just to tell the Lord, thank you for what he's done for me. I have to cry. If I didn't cry, if I did not have an opportunity to express myself through those emotions, I would literally lose my mind. But they're angry. They're so angry. And it's something that very small things that end up being those big powder keg of things because they cannot express it, or they're not afforded the chance to express it. They struggle with the idea of being vulnerable, where you see some of them that will begin to talk, but when they feel the emotions coming on, they stifle it, they shut it down. You know, they shut it down. I don't want to be looked at as being weak or sensitive. There are unrealistic expectations that are based on gender and race that keep many Black men and out of therapy. Okay? Those things where we could be or should be in therapy about it, where we should be talking to someone about it. We have a stereotype. We have been stereotyped where, listen, there's a major stereotype even that men don't like to ask for directions. We can be going wrong, on the wrong road. No, we going wrong. They say, don't, your wife will ask, baby, don't you think I'm good, I'm fine. We'll get there after a while. When, when you've gone 30 miles out of the way and then you have to turn around and all. But I used to hear a man that was in my life, a strong man in my life that would always say, I'm gonna run it if I have to run it wrong. Really? You're going to run it,
my goodness,
even if you have to run it wrong? Well, think about it. How many times was he running it wrong? That may be okay if you're doing it by yourself, but how many men are leading families wrong? How many men are leading businesses wrong, leading churches wrong, pastors, administrators, with that mindset that don't have someone else to bounce off of, to communicate with, instead of just saying, hey, I'm having a hard day, I'm having a rough day, and I need some help.
or who don't listen to their advisory meetings or to their board of directors. They just go on and on, don't pay any attention to rules and regulations because I'm in charge, because it's my company, because I'm the president. I don't care what anybody else says. This is what I want to do. It's my company, and I'm going on.
Y'all do what I say do. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
The reason why we have so many mental health issues, and this comes back to more recent type of issues dealing with COVID-19, the coronavirus, is that there's a great distrust of medical providers by the Black community, especially among African Americans. Historically, yes, sir, Black bodies were used and abused by science in order to make scientific discoveries. Y'all have heard of the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, where African American men were left untreated in order to study the progression of. And so now you have men and women and even children that have not read the study. They don't know anything about the study, but they've heard someone else say, don't trust that. Right? That's something that man made up. Don't trust that. I ain't getting no shot. And they're still getting sick. They're still getting sick and don't know why. But there is help. There is help. Somebody ought to say, I wish I was at Bright Star now. I say, somebody ought to say, there is help. There is help. When we recognize the importance of Black men's mental health, because Black Americans are half as likely as their white counterparts to receive the treatment that we need for our mental health disorders. We'll brush it off and say, well, he just need a whooping. he just need a whooping, or he just needs so-and-so. No. We need help. And those are systematic barriers to access, and cultural stigma lock them out of the resources that we deserve. When we recognize that we heal in different ways, here are a list of yes, sir.
Before you go there, please mention the fact that our Black women are enabling our men and boys.
Oh, yes, sir.
Oh, leave him alone. He'll be okay.
Right.
Come around. Just give him a little time. He'll be. Don't y'all bother him. Leave him alone.
God,
so
listen.
Enable him. I see all the heads shaking.
Yes, sir.
Doesn't have to work. Doesn't have to keep a job. Doesn't have to worry about a family, doesn't have to pay child support.
Oh, sir.
Mama just lets him stay at the house, do whatever he wants to do. She keeps the world away from him, saying he's gonna be all right after a while.
Wow.
Just give him a little time.
Wow.
Don't bother him.
Wow.
Don't y'all bother him. Don't call him.
Wow.
Don't call.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, that came to my mind. So I thought that was something I needed to really inject, because as a community, we've not acknowledged that about ourselves. And that's what it is.
Very, very key. I've watched.
And then we're gonna go on the show.
Yes, sir. I've watched a young man here on my campus. Really good-looking kid, you know, a little playful at times, but smart kid. You can tell and you can watch him. But I've watched him go on a downward spiral because I found out some things about him here last week. One of his family members has been incarcerated for taking the rap for someone else in the family.
Mm-hmm.
So thus he's living now. He was with the dad, okay? But the dad has almost had to take a hands-off approach because the grandmother and the auntie and the sister all beat down and badgered the dad. And every time he goes to chastise the kid, because I still feel like a young black man, a young African-American boy needs to see, if he's going to become a black man, he needs to see, to have interaction with a black man.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He has to do, yes, a woman can raise him as best she can, but she can't teach him how to be a man because she's never been a man.
No.
Yeah, she's never been a man. And so I've watched this kid go on a downward spiral from getting put out of class for playing too much, okay, to now you're being suspended for stealing because there was nothing done and nobody is able to, you know, that same thing, leave him alone. Let y'all don't bother him. But there is help. I'm done here now. I'll come back later on.
Do those points. You had some points. Share those points.
Yes,
No,
yes.
what you said was, to me, very valuable. And as a mother of 3 African-American males, I didn't want to raise them on my own. I had to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I also had to acknowledge it was because the choices that I made in mates. Mm-hmm. But I also had to force those particular people to jump in and, just like you say, allow them to be fathers to their sons.
Right.
Because it's important. Trying to raise a man and tell them manly things, it's not a woman's place.
Right.
It's not. Right. And it's hard to do it when, in this day in society, when they're up against so much. And so that's where you rely on the church, your community, and other things to kind of step in and help you. And you're right, you have some women that inside of our brain, we're feeling like, oh, they're taking away something from me, but not, they're giving you so much if you just only open up and allow yourself to accept the help. And this is why our Black males are still being incarcerated and being put out of school, and not being given the opportunity to learn the value of working a job and being responsible and independent.
Right.
So we have to work together.
Yes.
But for some reason, we're not doing that. You know, we're definitely not grasping that concept that it's okay to ask for help.
Right.
Yeah. You had the right people on here, because you all are just talking the things that are in my mind before I say them. You all are saying them. And I want to say this so y'all will be mad at me and not mad at Pastor Dennis. We have gotten away from church.
Yes, sir.
Community. As a result, the women are not accessing that resource that they had of the men in the church
Right.
to help them raise their
Mhm.
boys. There was a time when the single Black woman would resort to her brothers, her dad. She'd resort to the men in the church to help her raise her
Yes,
boys.
sir. Yes, sir.
I know
Yes,
it,
sir.
but
I was one.
we have gone away from church.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have that. And in my career in Caddo, my 41 years in Caddo, I can recount times when single mothers would send their pastor to the church,
Yes, sir. To the school. Yeah.
to the school,
Yeah. Yeah.
to take care of whatever the issue was.
Yes,
with that.
sir.
She was working. She couldn't get off her job. She didn't want to handle it. And listen, she knew that it was an issue where the school needed to see that there was a Black man in the life of that boy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Take advantage of a situation when there is no Black man to speak for a Black family.
Wow. Wow.
And not just the school,
Wow.
but other entities, other systems in America will take advantage of a single Black woman when there is no Black man to speak for her or to speak for that family. So I thank you all for raising that issue too. And I wanted to say that about the absence of folks going to church, because if Pastor had said it, y'all would be angry at him. And I wouldn't do it, so you will just be angry at me and won't bother him with that.
Yes,
all
sir.
right? Very
Thank
good.
you.
Come on, you're gonna get, I want those points, Pastor Dennis, before we go to Shannon now.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me.
No, I wanted to ask Pastor this, because when he was talking about Black males, and as a pastor, I read an article, pastors are dealing with their own mental, emotional issues, trying to be everything for the people in your congregation and your life. And there was a study that came out that there were a lot of pastors that were having emotional breakdowns. And so I just wanted, since he was talking about, Black males, I wanted him to, talk about that for a moment, if he didn't mind.
Wow. You have hit a very, very key issue that very few people like to talk about. And even fewer than that care to admit it. I can't talk about nobody else, but I was at a point in my life and in my ministry and in my family and all the rest of that several years back, where if I did not release myself of some of the things that were going on in my life, I was going to lose my mind and ultimately my life. And so I had to get some help. I was on a show called Fix My Life, where a whole lot of family business and personal business and stuff that we was going to church and holding hands and going in church smiling and shouting and preaching, and going back home just in dealing with dark, debilitating issues that I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't talk about it. You ever been doing something and didn't even want to do it? You just did it to keep you from losing your mind. I found myself acting out in ways that were unbecoming of a man, let alone a man of God. But because I didn't have anybody I could talk to, and I've had so many people to ask, well, why did you do that? So I had to find a way to get those demons off of me. It wasn't my idea, but I was grateful, and I'm still grateful to this day for my children's mother for taking us through that ordeal.
You know, I asked the vessel, you know, the vessels that we are, there's strength in our struggles. And I think God has chosen us for the purpose of us to tell our stories sometimes, because as hard as it is, people don't like to admit when a problem arises, because there's the stigma, there's the guilt, there's the shame.
Yeah.
And it's just like Brother Darryl said, we got to get back to the basis. To the basis. And I applaud you as being someone who stayed in ministry and kept, because as I grow closer to God, I understand fully and foremost how much we need to go back to that book and how we live our lives and how we navigate who we are in today's society as African Americans, because we have been so sheltered and pushed aside, and it goes back to slavery, where we are being told that we have no value, and there is value in the things that we go through, no matter how hard it is to talk about. So thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. This is wonderful. Pastor,
sir,
I want those points.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will share them.
Let me thank everybody who's sharing today. I looked at the participants list. Thank all of you for sharing. And Pastor's going to give us those points. Then we're going to do a quick Q&A, and we're going to Sister Shannon.
Yeah. Hang on. I got to find my screen sharing. Where are we at? Oh, share screen. There it is. Okay, I got to share. Let me share these last couple of things, if I can. From the current slide, here we go. There is help, as I was sharing with us. There is help for those of us that heal through community building. And these are just some things that I hope that you can get these. There's called a YB Men Project. YB Men Project. It's a culturally sensitive, private social media group on Facebook and Instagram. It's on social media, providing mental health education and social support to young Black men using information and prompts from social media and pop culture. The BEAM organization, BEAM organization, hosts an online support session for Black men and masculine individuals so that they can vent and grieve and heal together. You don't have to do this on your own. Ethel's Club is an online community to support creators of color and has been named the social club that could spark the next Renaissance. There's help for those who heal through understanding. There's a couple of groups called the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation. It's a network of trained Black therapists that look like you and I. They're available for free online sessions. To get involved, just text, there's the number there. Text NOSTIGMA, no stigma, to 707070 to begin their intake process. For those in the LGBTQ community of African American people, there's another online network that connects those in the QTPOC with QTPOC therapists. Most of the resources there are paid. Some therapists have begun donating their time or giving reduced rates to clients. There is help. There's also help for those who heal through listening. The Steve Funds videos chronicle the individual stories of Black young men and women and Black men afflicted with mental health illnesses. Black Men Speak is another organization that hosts numerous open mic nights where Black men share their stories of mental illness through spoken word, poetry, song, and many more. There's help for those who feel. Each Mind Matters works hard to improve mental health equity through culturally responsive resources and programs. You can get those, read those, check those out. AAKOMA project, that's another. Standing in the Shadows is another. The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health is another. Heal Through Education, Aid to Mend Educators, and then NIMHD is another. Check those out. All right, and then here's some phone numbers that you can jot down and list. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, they have a national hotline. Then the National Alliance on Mental Health, NAMI, they have a helpline where you can call or text. There's information out there, guys, and we don't have to, we no longer have to suffer in silence. You can get help. You can get help. I have a song that I'm going to share later on, but we're going to go to Miss Shannon Armstrong and Brother Gates. We're back in your hands now.
Pastor, right before we go there, can we, number one, put this in the chat, because that needs to be made available to people today.
Absolutely.
Number one. Number two, please, sir, email that to me. I'm a part of 2 national Black male teacher groups on Facebook.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I want to make those references available to them.
Yes, sir.
Because not only are they Black men, but they also teach, deal with, and support Black men.
Yes, sir.
And I thank you for your point there, and I didn't miss it. There is help. Thank you for that point today. Thank you
sir.
so very much for that. Now, you're going to share your song now, or you're going to do it later?
I can do it later. I can do it. You want?
So we're going to, don't you want to get, can we get 5 minutes of Q&A for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
For our wonderful participants today, if you have questions for Pastor Dennis, okay, we're just going to take 5 minutes, but come on, ask a quick question. He's going to give you a quick response, and then we're going to Sister Shannon. Marcus, are we set up to hear from our participants?
Yes, sir. If they just unmute their mic, and
okay,
more than welcome to speak.
Question or comment, those of you who are listening to us, come on, let's get it out. We want to hear from you, and again, we thank you.
Well, I could just make a comment real quick. This was a great presentation, Pastor Dennis, and you spoke on a lot of issues that are really important. And one thing to add to that is we have to get back to a community. Our community structure is so fractured now, and be it spiritually, be it financially, be it just a communal sense as a unit. So we do have to work on that. So that's a high priority, and it's very much needed. But this was great information, and it was really great for you to share your personal story, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This is just such a wonderful group. I mean, we're hearing from Black men today. We're hearing from a Black mother who's also a Black professional. Just phenomenal. And like I said, I could not have gotten a better group. Could have gotten another group of people to share with me, but not a better group than these 2 folks who have joined with us. And we are certainly grateful. Again, to our participants, do you have a comment? Do you have a question? Going once, going twice. Marcus said all you have to do is just unmute and you can talk.
Just unmute, and if you're not comfortable speaking, just type your comment in the chat box. And
Good.
Sure. I shared that information already in the chat.
I saw that. Now your PowerPoint, can you post it in the chat as well?
I don't think I can post it in the chat, but I will email it to you.
Okay, very good.
Yes, sir.
Email it to Marcus. Can you email it to Marcus now?
Sure.
And is it because he may be able to post it.
Sure. Mr. Marcus, what's your email address?
It's my email address is my name, Gmail. So it's Marcus, Marcus. The last name is Persley, P as in Paul, ERSLEY @gmail.com. And if you send it to me, everyone that's on the call, I will send them a copy of that PowerPoint as soon as.
Awesome. Yes, sir. I'm going to send it to you in just a moment.
Okay.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you.
Yes,
we
sir.
are going to now hear from Miss Shannon Armstrong, who is a local counselor who has a wonderful background. And Shannon, every time I think of your life, I think of Jeremiah 29:11. God says, I have a plan for you. I have a plan for your life. Oh my God.
Thank you.
I'm trying not to work myself up here, but it's to lead you and guide you. I have a plan for you. And what I love about God's plan is it's not just to bless us, but to put us in a position to bless others.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's what comes to my mind when I think of you. We're going to hear from our friend and our special co-worker in this project, Sister Shannon Armstrong. Come on, baby, you got the floor.
Okay, and so I'm going to be talking about women issues. And I want to start off with a quote. And the quote says, let me find it here. It says, oh, Jesus, okay. I'm on two screens here on my personal. It is entirely impossible for any human to always be strong. I was always apprehensive of the term strong Black woman because it dehumanizes us and make it seem like we don't hurt. Taraji P. Henson, that is a quote that she quoted. And here's the thing, women just as well as like Pastor Dennis was talking about men, the state of mental health of Black women is in an uproar right now because women experience depression at a rate twice that of men. And a lot of time we are not doing healthcare as we're not seeking healthcare. And there's a lot that we can do about that. But here's the thing, Black women face disparities in mental health because we're not as trusting anymore. The role that we play in society now has us faced with many difficulties because of we're raising families on our own. We're the breadwinner in our family. And then just like our males, there's a disadvantage because of racism, sexism, and financial inequalities. But through it all, we are the most resilient group around. Truly, these differences have made it very hard for us to understand the outcomes. Most of the reasons why we experience depression is now because just like men's, we're holding things in. We're not telling people the things that we are experiencing. We are not understanding why we are experiencing that. A lot of it is pride. A lot of it has to do with the fact that we don't want to seek help and we don't like being told what to do. Why is mental health important? It's important because our whole welfare determines how we're going to be able to operate psychologically, emotionally, and physically. If we consider how much of mental health plays a role in every aspect of our life, it is important for us to improve our psychological awareness, because if not, we're going to die early. Studies show that women are less likely to receive health care due to postpartum depression. We're likely to accept medications and therapy because we don't want to be shunned or shamed for the issues that we are experiencing. One of a main topic that women go through is toxic relationships. We are not paying attention to who we invite into our lives. we don't have the willingness to listen to others. I can remember growing up as a young girl, and the elderly women of the church, you were not disrespectful to them. You listen. Now you have women that we don't feel like we have to listen to anybody. I love the fact that I can go to the elderly women in my congregation and say, hey, I have an issue, I have a problem, because that wisdom and that knowledge is very helpful. And they have actually gone through things that I've gone through. Some of the barriers that I think are so hard, they can easily identify with them because they have more than likely experienced it. Black women, there's a key component to how we view the world. And it's not always in a therapeutic nature. There's a cultural sensitivity to the barrier for Black women. And a lot of times the doctors and psychiatrists, they have not figured this out. The African American Psychological Association says that Black clinicians only represent about 2% of practicing psychiatrists and 4% of psychologists providing the care. The people that are providing the therapy and the care, they don't look like us. They can't identify with us. And so a lot of times, this is the reason why we are hesitant to go to these types of appointments. Black individuals are more likely than whites to receive a diagnosis with a poor long-term outcome. For example, they will diagnose someone else as having just emotional problems, where yet we go in and we talk about our issues, and then all of a sudden we're diagnosed as having schizophrenia. The differential diagnosis for patients, it includes other psychological disorders such as bipolar. How many of you know you're dealing with people and all of a sudden you're bipolar? Bipolar is just highs and lows. I think everyone on this panel can agree that we all have highs and lows. But more than likely, we are placed with a diagnosis more than our other counterparts. Why is this? Well, case study shows that if I'm depressed and then I'm placed with a diagnosis, it sets me apart from other things that I might want to go forward with in my life. This should not be happening, but it happens each and every day. Why is mental health so important? Well, it's just like, it's just like going to the store and you're looking for something on the aisle and you can't find it. There are benefits to good mental health. I think we need to pause and reset, because sometimes stress is just that, stress. There's nothing wrong with being stressed. Everything doesn't involve you having to stick a pill in your mind. Sometimes it just takes going and talking to someone and just being able to get out, just being able to vent. Now, sometimes medicine is needed. And sometimes we do have to, but by having someone that can identify with your issues culturally, I think it brings more of a sensitivity and awareness to what we are dealing with every day. Cultural sensitivity in a doctor and patient relationship is very important, and it can have a better outcome. The mortality rate for Black babies being born can increase because the care that is being given by doctors. A lot of times we don't understand this because we are not being told that these are some of the issues. There's an increasing number of Black OB gynecologists. This is why sometimes women will say, I don't want to go and receive help because that doctor doesn't know what I'm going through, or that doctor doesn't know what I am experiencing. Black women have postpartum depressions just as well as a white female. If racial concordance between a physician and a patient plays a direct role in such outcomes, the communication and perception of care would be better. It is unrealistic to think that all Black patients will be suitably matched with a clinician of similar racial and cultural backgrounds. This is where the clinicians have to be culturally appropriate when assisting and providing therapeutic services to clients. So let's talk about mental health just in a whole. What are the risk factors for poor mental health? There's something that we call ACEs. It's called adverse childhood experiences. Look, I lost my train of thought right there. Thank you. This is when you have not gotten the necessary counseling or therapy for the things that have happened in your childhood. When a child is subjected to physical assault, sexual violence, or neglect while growing up, this can lead to severe mental and emotional distress. This can also lead to other things like depression, substance abuse, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Most of our kids growing up in schools are going through the similar things. This does not mean that you have to be labeled with a ADD or ADHD diagnosis. We just need to be finding out what is psychologically and biologically going on within the family environment. A strong contributor to mental well-being is the state of a person's unusual environment. Adverse environmental circumstances can cause a negative effects on a person's psychological wellness. So what about the biological makeup that can make up your state of well-being? Well, a number of mental health disorders have been found to run in families. Sometimes they are passed down to members. This can include autism, depression, and even schizophrenia. Schizophrenia usually skips a generation, but it also, if it has been had by one person, it can also, because my grandmother's mother had it, and then my father's mother had it, and then my son was diagnosed as schizoaffective. So it skipped a generation. There are signs of these problems. You may notice that that person is not eating. You may notice a reduction in their energy levels. You may notice that they are substituting drugs and alcohol. This is what we call self-medicating, because you're trying to get rid of the pain or the despair that you're feeling. There may be unexplained confusion, anger, guilt, severe mood swings, picking fights with family or friends, hearing voices. People don't want to talk about it. Auditory and visual hallucinations are real. Causing self-harm to yourself or others. The benefit of mental health, whether it be a male or female, is learning what is affecting you, learning why these negative behaviors are causing not only an effect on your mental, but your personal health as well. Many of us don't have a strong ability to cope with life stressors. Life stressors is what brings on mental. Mental is just a word. There are feelings about a person, self-esteem. We go through many different things, confidence. A lot of times we're not focusing on ourselves. There's no self-care being involved. We don't have healthy relationships. We're not spending quality time. We need to pause and reset. When you pause and reset, that means no social media, because social media is ruining people's lives. We need to step away from the dinner table with our phones. Technology is running our lives. We need to learn how to be more productive. If you feel strong mentally, it is more than likely that you will be able to work more efficiently. So how do we maintain mental health and well-being? Well, there's a few things that you can do. Exercise a little bit more. African Americans, we ain't big on keen on going to the gym. We'll say we're gonna do it and then we won't. I'm gonna use myself for an example. The elevator has been out at work. Instead of me telling myself that I couldn't do it, I have been walking 3 flights of stairs every day. So that lets me know that I can get in the gym, and I can also do that on the treadmill. But before that, I was telling myself I couldn't do it. Prioritizing rest and sleep on a daily basis. Get off your phone and go to sleep. You cannot possibly do anything if you don't have 6 to 7 hours of rest. And then stop saying that it's not a Black thing. Black people do meditate. We pray. We do a lot of things. And we do need to incorporate some things in our life. We need to learn how to be uncomfortable. A lot of the things that makes us uncomfortable are really good for us, like eating vegetables and changing up our diet. Learn coping skills for life challenges. Learn how to take deep breaths. Don't be so angry all the time. All you got to do, take that left foot, take a step back, take a deep breath, count to 5. Taking that deep breath can make the difference in how you go about your day. And then that's gratitude. You got to have something to be thankful for. Keeping in touch with loved ones. Call someone each day. Ask them how they're doing. They may eventually return the favor. And then out being positive. Combat a negative with a positive. Another proven way to improve and maintain your well-being is through the guidance of a professional. That's why professionals are out there. They have many different things now. Now, because we have telehealth, you have Better Health, where you could be all over America and you can actually tap into a counseling professional. Therapy is a way to just help you address any of your own negative behaviors, and it can provide you with some tools to make some changes in your early life. You don't have to have a mechanic to have a toolbox. This is your toolbox. Whatever you put in it, you can pull out of it, whether it be a wrench, a screwdriver, whatever you need to do to get your life back on track. So I want to leave you with one other thing today. Whatever you want, you can speak into existence. If you want to start and have a better life, start focusing on yourself. It is never selfish to put yourself first. Thank you.
Patrick, that girl said you don't have to be a mechanic to have a toolbox. Oh my goodness.
Didn't she say it?
My life just changed. My whole life just changed.
Yeah.
She just made a shift in 65 years of living. You don't have to be a mechanic to have a toolbox.
Come on. Yes, sir.
When I walk out of this library, I'm not gonna be this. Look, sitting in this chair, I'm not the same.
No
right
longer
now.
the same. No longer.
Marcus, I have a vision of making this available to thousands of people. The minute this recording is available, let me know. I'm going to post this in the 25 different Facebook pages where I can post, and I'm going to talk about it on my 6 different Facebook pages that I have. This is life-changing.
Yeah.
Our people don't get this, don't have access to this free information. that they need that can make a difference in the home, in the job, and interpersonally. We need to make this available. So Marcus, the minute this is available, let me know. I'm going to talk about this on my Facebook pages, like I said. I'm going to talk about this in the churches and to encourage them to access this. Shannon, check your schedule for March 23rd, 24th. I want to pull you up on Zoom for women's conference.
Okay.
And let you hundreds of women.
Amen. Amen.
What you today. Thank you to all of my guests. Pastor's going to close us out with a song. And then Marcus, you come in after Pastor's song. Listen, Marcus has a new look. I had to take a second look when I pulled him up on Zoom. But I want you all to know betterhelp.com. Shannon just posted that. Now tell us about that site, Shannon.
That is a site where you can be connected with a therapist, whether it doesn't even have to be someone in your area. You can be connected with a therapist, and you can do telehealth with that therapist. Like if you don't want to like go in the office to see, they hire therapists from all over the nation. So it's a really I think they go by your insurance. Mm-hmm. I do. I think they go by your insurance. But they're the internet is our friend. You can actually go in and Psychology Today has lists of, if you put African American, it'll tell you what insurances they take. It'll tell you if they're accepting new patients. It'll tell you a lot about how long that person has been in, counseling. It'll give you all of their credentials and the various different topics and diagnoses that they work with.
And see, people don't know that. The average person doesn't know that.
I'll post that as well.
And we have an opportunity to make that available. That's great, Shannon. Thank you for that. And that's in the chat for those of you who are online with us. She posted that in the chat. Thank you. Pastor, you're going to sing us out.
Can you hear me? All right, good. I wanted to share this song because the words are so much of what we're dealing with as individuals and as people, particularly those of us who are right here, what we've been talking about. Our Black men are struggling. Our Black women are going through it. Our children, they're facing these issues and they feel like this. I almost let go. I felt like I just couldn't take life anymore. My problems had me bound. Depression weighed me down. But God held me close, so I wouldn't let go. God's mercy kept me, so I wouldn't let go. I almost gave up. I was right at the edge of a breakthrough and couldn't see it. The devil, he really had me. Jesus came and grabbed me and he held me close, so I wouldn't let go. Oh, God's mercy kept me, and I wouldn't let go. So I'm here today because God kept me. I'm alive today only because of His grace, and He kept me. God kept me. He kept me. Why? So I wouldn't let go. I almost let go. Y'all, I felt like I just couldn't take life anymore. My problems had me bound, and my depression weighed me down. But God held me close, and I wouldn't let go. God's mercy kept me, so I wouldn't let go. I almost gave up. I was one of those statistics. I was right at the edge of a breakthrough and couldn't see it. The devil really had me, but Jesus, He came and grabbed me, and He held me close, and I wouldn't let go. I almost lost my mind, but He kept me, so I wouldn't let go. And I'm here today because God kept me. I can help somebody else. I'm alive today, and it's because of God's grace. He kept me. God kept me. Said He kept me. God kept me. I could have thrown in the towel, but He kept me. I wanted to end it all, but He kept me. He gave me somebody to listen to. He gave me somebody to hear me out. And I held on to God's unchanging hand. Can I get a witness? He kept me. God kept me. Oh, He kept me. I said, God kept me. He kept me, so I wouldn't let go. God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor Patrick Dennis. Thank you, Sister Shannon Armstrong. Thank you, Mooretown Library. Let's hear from Assistant Manager at the library. The manager, Sister Rose, is on Rose Davis, my lifeline to living and friendship and positive thoughts about myself, Rose Davis. Thank you. Come on, Marcus.
Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And you could have been anywhere else, but you chose to spend this time with us and get some valuable information from three of the best people in the world you can get any information from. And so we thank you for that. And you're more than welcome to come back anytime. We want to see you more than once a year. So we'll let the three of you get together and decide how you want to work that out, and we'll make it happen. But we really appreciate you. We really appreciate the conversation, and thank you so much for being a part of Mooretown this day.
Now, Marcus, how are you going to let them know, people know that this is available? How can we do that?
Okay, so as soon as
the three of us telling it.
Okay, so what we'll do is as soon as this is finished, it's a process that takes a little while for the file to build and populate and download. And then I send the file to our marketing department and they'll upload it to YouTube. And then as soon as they upload it to YouTube, I'll be able to send out links to that. And I'll make sure everyone that signed up gets a link, and I'll ask that they share it with someone else and see if they'll also allow us to share it on other platforms other than YouTube.
Thank you, Alicia Jefferson. Thank you for that. Marcus, so we're talking about maybe a month?
I'll check on it every day. We're not going to wait a month. And so I'll make sure that we can get it circulating faster than that.
That is awesome, awesome, awesome. Marcus, can we ask for a Q&A for Shannon?
Sure.
Yeah. Those of you in our listening audience, our participants today, any questions, comments for Sister Shannon? And Marcus said, all you have to do is just turn on your mic and start talking.
Hey, man, how y'all doing?
Hey.
It's Tyrone.
Hey.
Hey, man, I was there the whole time. I was at work, and I was listening, though, man. It was some good stuff. I like to cue in on what Shannon was talking about, that self-help. Man, you know, we got to look inside ourselves first to see the things that we desire and the things that we want to do. You know, what I like to make it better. We don't like where we are, try to do something. But I do also understand that people do not have access to certain things other people do. So I guess as people ourselves, we would have to get out there and say, hey, let's go talk to people. Let's go to these schools and say something to them. Hey, listen, you don't have to feel like this. You know, you don't have to be ashamed, you know, to be sad. You don't have to be ashamed to feel hurt. I mean, talk about it. It always helps to talk about it. You know, a lot of folks, what happens is they're scared to tell people what's going on within them because they think somebody's going to talk about them behind their back. They're going to hear it later on. And, you know, they may have told this to a person in confidence. And then when it gets out there, now they're hurt. Now they're like y'all were talking about, they shut down. They don't want to talk about it anymore. Or they could be talking up to something. And then when they make it to that particular thing that really bothers you, they don't want to say nothing about it. But we have to somehow encourage these young people to be like, hey, listen, it's all right to talk about it. You know, if you don't even trust your parents, you look, somebody at school, you know, maybe a teacher or something could help you out. Somebody you feel close to, comfortable with, you know. We just need to be able to reach out to people, you know. That's really all I got to say. Self-help is one thing, but the other thing is, do you want to say something about it? Say something.
Yes. Oh, so powerful. Parents, Patrick, and you can appreciate this, parents would have done a whole lot of things differently if they knew the kinds of things their children told me.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And I felt obligated in some of those instances to talk to parents on the behalf of their children.
Right.
One of the things I found out in life is sometimes you can hurt a person and don't know you're hurting them. Not
yes,
your intention to hurt them.
Right.
But you can be hurting them and don't even know it.
Don't even know it. Yeah.
Thank you, Tyrone, for that. That was powerful. Self-help is wonderful, but also something else. Exactly right. You know, and in the religious community, we feel that it's a sign of weakness to seek professional mental help. That's a myth. And we need to dispel that for the awful myth that it is.
Right.
And I thank God that I have some Facebook friends who are strong enough, transparent enough to post. I have a pastor and a therapist, and I'm okay.
That's right.
To see churches get together and create a conference with ministers and people in the ministry and dedicated to talking about mental illness, because what a lot of people don't know, that COVID also brought on a lot of these mental illness, because anytime you lose as much oxygen that people were losing from the brain, it brought on euphoria and hallucinations, and people were not feeling their best self. COVID brought on a lot of mental things, yes, emotional breakdowns that people are, yes, having nowadays. And, yes, so, yes, we need to be talking a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So much.
Can I say something right there on that? I don't mean to begin, but I also work in healthcare. I'm a transporter at one of the hospitals around town. And what happened was during COVID, they would literally isolate their family member from them because they didn't want them to spread, the virus. Mm-hmm. And that is earth shattering, yeah, people, because all they know is their loved one.
Right.
And the question that I had is, how do we as people, Black people, or just people, period, how do we reach out to folks and say, hey, if you're going through something, you can talk to me about it, right, and get them to gain their trust, so that way they don't hold anything in, and then also turn around and help them through that and make them better.
Okay. Who wants to take that? Pastor Shannon, who wants to take that question?
I'll jump in here, and then I'll let Shannon go. I was thinking right before Brother Tyrone jumped in that COVID was a very major contributor to the mental health issues that some of us have absorbed within the past couple of years, because just as he said, you've got loved ones. Think about the number of people who lost loved ones and friends and couldn't even tell them goodbye. Lost mother, lost grandmother, lost papa, lost dad, lost best friends, and could not, because of the isolation issue, because of COVID, could not even give them a farewell goodbye. And I know we'll do a graveside. Sometimes the convenience factor ain't gonna cut it. The 15 minutes of a graveside, So they need somebody. We need somebody, as has been stated over and over, somebody to talk to. Yes, I love being a pastor. I love having an open door policy with my members, but you know what I tell my members? You're dealing with some stuff that I can't help you with. I'm gonna pray for you. I'm gonna put you, I'm gonna carry you to God in prayer. But here's a phone number for somebody who's a professional in this arena who you need to talk to. And can I tell you, I go every 2 weeks. Patrick Dennis does. And I ain't scared or ashamed to tell nobody. I go to see a therapist so that I can download what's been uploaded in me and some stuff that I can't tell everybody. I go to a therapist. I take a certain amount of medication some nights and sometimes in order to help me to coast through the day. Yes, I do. Yes.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too.
Yeah. And ain't a thing wrong with that.
It's not.
As Brother Gates said, I have a pastor and a therapist.
Mm-hmm. And I think what you said is so prolific and Tyrone, we have to start self-disclosing, but only if it's helpful, because people don't want to be talking to someone who hasn't experienced anything. We
right.
need to be opening up and sharing some of the things. You don't have to tell so much. You just need to give them the basics that I too have
right.
experienced
right.
some things, and that
right.
I am, because I know one of the reasons why I got into this profession was because of the therapist that was so good to me and gave me a voice when I didn't think anybody else was listening. And then I found out by sharing my story, I started realizing when I first got started in the Caddo Parish school system, all babies want to do is be heard. That's all they want to do. They just want somebody to vent to know that they understand. And so it is a profound thing to be talking to someone that they don't know your neighbors. They don't know your mom or your daddy. They just the person that you can go in there and you can sit down and you can get it all out and not keep it bottled in, because the biggest stressful is the iceberg when you keep everything bottled in and all of a sudden it explodes because you didn't have a chance to get it out. And so we just have to keep encouraging people that there is help out there, and we just need to keep talking to them. And there's nothing wrong with talking to someone, but you also, that person got to be able to know that if they're talking to you, they're not talking to the world.
Right. That's right.
You know, discretion is the key, and that's an ethical guidelines that, you know, as a professional that we are bound to. Even I know, you know, pastor knows this as a pastor, you know, if I go in his study, that's me and him talking, not me and the congregation.
Right.
And we have to hold ourselves in that regard as just
as professionals.
You know, as professionals. Yeah. So
listen, we've got to go. Let me get you all to go to the chat, put in your contact information so people will know how to reach you. Okay. No more comments from us. Marcus, what else is it you want us to say? You want to say?
Again, I thank everyone for coming today. It's been a great conversation, and we welcome you back anytime you want to come. Just let us know, and we'll set up another Zoom, or, you know, we'll be doing in-person programming again soon. So we would love to have you all back and continue this, maybe a forum on a Saturday, you know, just an idea. So we thank you, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you, Rose Davis, Manager, Mooretown Library. Thank you, Marcus, Assistant Manager, Mooretown Library. Y'all keep in contact with us. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great weekend. Again, thank you to my co-host today. Y'all were excellent. Thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see you 2023.
That's right. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye.